My name is Shalon Wilson, and I'm a part of the African American Babies Coalition.
My name is Sharon Henry Blythe, and I work for the Family Housing Fund.
Hello, I'm Sheila Sweeney, and I'm a part of the Black Babies Coalition or African American Babies Coalition.
My name is Teresa Davis, and I work for the Children's Trust Fund at the Department of Human Services in St. Paul.
My name is Serena Moran. I'm the state legislator for District 65A, which is the Rondo, Frogtown, Midway, a little bit of the North End and Cathedral Hill communities.
This work is important to me mainly because of what it does for the community. I feel like there's nothing out there like it, and that we're getting such positive images on how we raise our children, and it's coming directly from the African American community itself, and not from an outside source. And for me, this work is important because it puts the power back in our hands, back in our own community.
This work is important to me because it helps to build individuals within the community setting. So I see this work as very relationally based, relationally meaning between parents and children, our babies and their parents. Also, community members, partner with the adults and the parents in our community. They have a chance to connect on a deeper level. I think when we think about parenting in our community, sometimes we look at the old school ways and we look at the new school ways. Some of the younger adults say, well, things have changed. But if we try to bridge the two together, I think that it can make, a big impact in our community. Thus, teaching our younger generations purposeful parenting and when something is kind of going awry, what that means, what that might look like, so that early intervention can step in there.
This type of outreach can really elevate or increase our daily conversations about caring for and raising our babies and giving them the care and support they need to get off to a really good start.
It is so important to me because I want to create an environment that values our community, but also includes our community in the outcomes and the impacts of what our community could and should look like. It's important to me because my number one priority is to have an educational system where we're not looking at disparities that are in our community. It's important to me because families are important to me. As a mother with 7 kids, it is really important that I work towards creating better outcomes for Black families in St. Paul, in Minneapolis, and statewide. For my fact, it's important that we are creating better outcomes for all kids, but it's a special emphasis on our Black kids because that is where our disparities lies. So anytime that we are engaging parents and educating parents and empowering parents in the process to be the first teacher of their kids, that's a good move. It's a powerful move. And it's a win-win for our community, for our families, and for our state.
Well, it's important to me because I know that knowledge is power. I know that when we know better, we can do better. And that even, on a personal level and how we operate, and also when we advocate. If we have the information, if we have the knowledge, we can make things happen like they should happen. So that's one of the reasons I think it's very important, the work that we're talking about, because the information that we have is fairly new as far as neuroscience and ACEs and all of that stuff, but it's important information, and everyone else is getting it. I mean, at the systems level, people understand the importance of it, and they're talking about it, and they're promoting it, and that should also be happening at the community level so that we also have that knowledge and that information.
I think it's a wonderful idea incorporating ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, outcomes, and the research and all of that good stuff that surrounds ACEs into our community, because it kind of labels and packages different experiences that people have had, and people don't always recognize things as being a traumatic impact on their life or having some kind of negative impact on their life, and some people won't view it that way. However, when you have these things packaged, you have other people who are maybe not in these communities, who are not in these fields that we work in, to better understand the concepts of ACEs and how they impact our people within our community. The concepts within ACEs are not new themselves, but packaging it in an ACE perspective, that's the newer piece, I think, for our communities to understand. And so when things are packaged differently, when things are better explained, then people can understand better, and they don't feel so intimidated by, these big words like we use, like trauma and that kind of thing. But when we look at and we break it down to the 10 concepts that make up ACEs, those are things that everyday people can relate to. And I think that it goes across the board from, individuals, families, communities, and organizations. So I think, again, ACEs is a commonality, kind of a common language that we can all use across our community, so we can communicate better. And knowing what we're communicating about, and again, putting in that early intervention and prevention when there is something in place. Because now through the research, they know that, with some of the ACEs people have experienced during childhood, carries over into their adult lives, and they have greater medical concerns or other things going on in their lives, and they can't pinpoint some of that stuff. This, I think, would help, some of the doctors in our community, the practitioners, and other people working with people in our community to better understand, instead of blaming the person for being the way that they are. It's not an overall end-all excuse, but it is a way to better understand what people have dealt with and what they're experiencing. Like they say, instead of saying, what have you done? What has been done to you? That's what ACEs tries to get at. What has been done to you? What has been your experience? And is inviting that party in to talk about their experience and feeling valued and feeling important in that work.
Well, this has a huge impact to reach the young people, young African Americans in our community, mainly because it gives them the power to be able to say that they do know how to raise children, and some of the things that they experience, those when they have children of their own, or when they're watching their siblings or nieces and nephews, as I've had experience with. It lets you know that those responses, those natural responses to caring for for children or your relatives, that those mean something, that it's very powerful to act on that, to hold your baby and understand ways that we can contribute to raising healthy babies with healthy brains in our communities.
When you understand the importance of the impact of trauma and the building your brains and how you interact with children early, I think that makes you, one, you do it better on a personal level, and then two, you're a better advocate when you go to schools and stuff. You know what to say.
We'll know that it will have an impact when we see changes in attitudes.
It's things that are just part of our daily lives, are how parents interact on a daily basis with their babies. If I'm at the grocery store, more and more often I see African American moms and dads looking at their babies, smiling and talking to them, and responding to their joyful noises, and using lots of language with them, and giving them lots of eye contact, and being sensitive and tender with them. It's just the simple things that we do with our babies on a daily basis that allow them to grow and develop and become curious, joyful, playful individuals.
If we can do that consistently and become more informed and knowledgeable about the importance of those early years, when we have language around how trauma can be abuse, it can be neglect, it can be and sometimes in our own community, trauma is just their everyday life, or that looks like in shootings and gangs been, a part of our community lives. That is part of the trauma that happens indirectly with us in our community. And that has an impact on kids learning in their survival mode.
Some of the youth that I've had a chance to talk to and interact with who've been exposed to the information that the African American Babies Coalition has presented, it's been a life-changing experience for them.
There's this connection that is needed in the Black community, that they are also informed about those early years, right? And so if we can make those connections from the capital to the community,
I think we'll see more confidence in our youth. When we that's what the impact will be. It will be more confidence, confidence that we know we're doing the right thing, confidence that we know what's best for our community, and that comes from us.
I think you have an obligation, if you have some information and knowledge that the community needs, you have an obligation to make sure that people get it. And to me, that's what leadership is about, is making sure that people have the information, that they need to act, and also helping them to understand what the action should be.
Being kind of a disciple, that just this becomes a commitment that you make.
I think becoming a leader in this really just says that you're willing to lead and guide the way. Sometimes I think the word leadership is, misconstrued, but in this realm, I think it's just people who are passionate about this work, who are willing kind of to do the footwork, the legwork of it, and bring it all together, and so that they can put it out there again and package it for those who it's guided towards, and all of us can use that work.
I think that a lot of people are leaders. I think we have a lot of leaders, a lot of people in our community who every day make differences in the lives of their neighbors and friends and family. And this is a way to give them also the information so that they can be more impactful or more effective as they can be when they're working for the betterment of children and families.
In this realm, leaders are important because we can help to, grab the hand of somebody who doesn't know. We can distribute this material to people who may have never heard of this before, who may have gotten bits and pieces of this, and now this guide is something that can, bridge all of that information together. And the leader is there to help to decipher what is what, to help with deeper understanding of what this guide is all about, and just to get the message out there, because someone has to do it. And I think if there are people who are willing to step up, which people on the coalition have done that, and be the first line of defense to get this message out to our communities, that's what's important. Because with that, then you have people who will follow, or who will want to join in, and who will want to marry that idea and bring some additional ideas. So I think the leaders are the ones who step out first, and they kind of get that information out, and then you have people that you partner with.
This living room guide, it has the potential to be able to have youth at the forefront of leading education on how we can raise our children to be healthy in our communities, so that they go on and have the best education outcomes, the best economic opportunities, and things like that.
To have parents really involved in how we can turn this around by having these community conversations, these living room conversations, right there in our own homes, right there in our own community, with each other. That's just, it's a powerful move. It's a great learning tool, and it helps us to know that we're not in this by ourselves.
A lot of times we do this messaging and we have it. People have to go and find it, or, look for it, or it's on television where people may or may not see it. This has the ability to connect people where they are and where they live, because it's going to be working with people who are actually in the community and moving in the community in different ways, and so it can reach people that otherwise would never get the information. or may never, hear it, but they will get it because of how it's being distributed by people that they know.
I see it as valuable. I see it as reaching out to a larger group of people, like through literature, through photographs, through the different modalities that they'll have the living room guide on, like the electronic modalities, some of the social media. So I think, when that guide is adapted to all of those different formats and it reaches a larger population of people within our community, I think the guide would be very helpful, again, bridging those generational gaps. People can read, what the research says, also reading what common practice is, because the living room guide is there to bridge, everyday living with what's in the research, so that people are well informed of what's going on within themselves, within their parenting practices, and they can carry that forward.
My dream is that the guide just serves as kind of a way to help get the conversation started. And like I was saying, my dream is that this just becomes a comfortable and easy discussion to start with friends and family and neighbors, that we really are talking about what's good for babies and how we can support parents that are caring for very young children. So it just becomes part of our vernacular, the way we talk about family and the way we talk about supporting healthy families. It just becomes a very easy, free-flowing, ongoing conversation in all parts of our community.
I hope that it bridges conversations between some of the generations, so the older or old school generation versus the younger generations, and bridging that gap of communication and again, in parenting, and how that's valued and how we can use both things. One thing that I brought up while we were looking at some of the literature within the living room guide is that just because we did things a certain way back in the day, we can find out where that concept came from by asking some of our elders. But, maybe it was adapted because that's what needed to happen back then. But now maybe we don't have to use some of those same practices that, continue to harm ourselves or harm our children or harm our relationships. So some of those things may have been for survival, versus now they may not, we may not need it for that same purpose. So I'm hoping that living room guide is literally just that. It's a guided conversation, that families can have, in their homes, and free and open, starting new dialogue for our next generations.
As a legislator, we're at the Capitol and we are creating laws and policies around early childhood education. We're introducing quality care. We're looking at, investing more monies in scholarships, and we invested in all-day K. But we haven't had a huge emphasis on those early years, from 0 to 3, which I hope as we go into 2015, there's a bigger emphasis on those early years and looking at our babies. And I am just really, really excited about the work that the African American Babies Coalition are doing. It's a targeted initiative. It is an intentional initiative, and it is a needed initiative that I am wholeheartedly supporting.